Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to see you all once again. Hey, I'm seeing some waves out there. It's really nice to be able to have you guys join us once again. It seems like we were just together, which we were, given that we had our webinar on Friday, and here we are after a nice long weekend. And here it is, a Tuesday. So I'm so happy that you guys are with us. Today, we actually have an opportunity to be able to hear from 3 different employers. And they're going to be sharing information with us about employment, about what they're looking for in employees, and then some other specifics about their particular jobs, within the field, to help you guys understand what it is that's needed when you're starting a job. And so at this point, what I'd like to be able to do is to simply request that we have our 3 employers introduce themselves. So what I am going to be doing is, first off, we have Jamie Sailors, and then we have Carrie Dean, and then we have Sean West, who is with us today to share information. And so if each of you would please share, your name, your title, and then maybe just to start, what is the most favorite part of the jobs that you guys have? We would love to be able to hear that information from you folks. So I'm going to first ask that Jamie share with us a little bit.
Okay, hello, good morning. I'm Jamie. I'm the Director of Operations for Arby's here in Tucson and Sierra Vista, and we actually operate 12 Arby's locations. I've actually been with Arby's since I was 16. It was my first job when we just had 1 restaurant. So we have over 275 employees. I'll say that probably the most favorite aspect of my job is, well, number 1, that it's different every day. Over the years, my ability to really coach and mentor and have an impact on our employees' lives has really grown. So for me, it's really exciting to see those that are entering the workforce and to watch them grow and learn life skills that they can take through all walks of life.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jamie. And you're absolutely right. There is a whole lot going on right now, and it is different every day. I think that you put that well. And Carrie, could you please share with us your role there, and what is it that you most look forward to in your work each day?
Sure. So good morning. My name is Carrie Dean, and I am the volunteer program supervisor with Reed Park Zoo. So obviously animals, big thing. That's a lot of the fun part of what we do. But really, I enjoy working with and learning from our very diverse group of volunteers. We have more than 320 volunteers in different areas of the zoo. And it's exciting every day to be able to learn from their backgrounds and their expertise and translate that into how we can best serve the zoo's mission. And then, of course, there are always the animals that we get to look at, and we do have ambassador animals that we get to interpret and handle, so that's always exciting too. But yeah, we just love getting information out to our guests from our volunteers and helping the community preserve and protect wild animals in wild places.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carrie. We're really looking forward to hearing more from you as well. And 320 volunteers. That's really quite incredible.
It's a lot.
Excellent. And next we have Sean West, and Sean comes with us from Plato's Closet, which is a retail shop that we have in Tucson. I believe we have 2 different locations as well. So Sean, we're happy to have you on with us. You're muted.
Here we go. There we go. Can you hear me now? Okay,
you sure
perfect.
Can.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. Yes, I have 2 locations in town. Plato's Closet is a franchise, and we buy and sell items from the public. We repurpose them and resell them. I have 32 employees altogether. And although I do love the resale end of it, the biggest part of it for me is taking these young people that maybe this is their very, very first job. I've hired a lot of people at 16 years old as soon as they were able to work, and watching them grow and learn skills and develop leadership skills and stay with me for years. I have people that have been with me for 6 years, and it was their very first job during high school, actually. So we continue to grow and resell more and more items that we take in from the public and give them cash for their clothes. So it's fun. It's a fun business, but it's the young people that make it fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. It is the young people that make it fun. I feel that way as well within the job that I have here. Just any opportunity to be able to interact with all of these guys is just, it's interesting. I learn from them, and I'm hoping that they're learning from us, and we keep going, right? We all work as a team to be able to keep our employment community going, especially nowadays.
Yep.
So the next thing that I'm going to do then is we would like to be able to hear specific, information from each of you guys within your positions. And I know that the students here probably have a number of questions that they're curious about as well. And we tried to, I think that we did well in being able to make sure that we had a variety of options here for our students to be able to consider, given that we have animals as a focus, we have food as a focus, and we have retail. And each of those different areas are necessary for one, and then are prevalent, of course, within the communities for all the many jobs that are out there for our students to consider. So I'm going to start off. I have a list of questions here in front of me, and we already started off with our little introductions. So I guess what our first question is going to be would be in regards to entry-level positions. So our students are going to be coming, from high school, they're going into employment or on to school. And many of the folks here that we have on with us haven't had a chance for a job yet. So they're going to be starting off in an entry-level job. And I'm curious as to what opportunities you have for our students as they start off in the community to try out a position. So let's see, I guess I'll keep going maybe in the order that we were for the moment. So Jamie, are you able to offer that information to us?
Sure, absolutely. So we, our entry-level positions are our crew members, and those generally consist of cashier. So both at the front register, which is our dine-in and our takeout orders. We have drive-through as well, where you would take orders over the drive-through, or cashier at the drive-through. We also have, we call it our sandwich line. So basically the people who make the sandwiches. We have fry station, which is a pretty big job now. And then we also have a lot of different jobs within the restaurant when it comes to cleaning, our prep. It takes us a couple hours each day to prep the ingredients for our menu for the day. And we also have a closing team that basically closes our restaurant. So a lot of cleaning, a lot of customer service, and a lot of teamwork.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jamie. Teamwork always. I think that what you guys are going to find listening in here is that teamwork is going to be necessary all the way along for any of our students to be successful. So that's one thing for you guys as students to be thinking about is as you're continuing on in school. I know that you're not in your classrooms maybe right now, but it's a great opportunity and a chance to be able to practice those skills of teamwork. So let's see, Carrie, do you want to share with us a little bit about your entry-level positions that are available?
Sure. So we have approximately 124 employees. So our volunteers definitely outnumber our staff, but we do have some entry-level employment options. We have cashiers, so similar to what Jamie has. Ours a little different, so they are up at the admission booths, getting guests into the zoo, selling tickets, selling general admission for special events. We do have grounds positions, which are entry level. So that is really helping keep the zoo grounds looking nice and professional, picking up trash, trimming trees, bushes, shrubs, all of that. And we have events entry level positions. So those folks are helping with all of our special events. So we have Boo at the Zoo for Halloween, Zoo Lights for Christmas, any of our special free events that are going on just with general admission. So those folks help put up lights, help stage for the events, get tables and chairs out. So all sorts of aspects with that. And then we also have some janitorial. So cleaning, keeping bathrooms clean, picking up trash, that's more, that kind of is shared with grounds and janitor services. And then we do have some entry level office positions too. So just doing mailings and helping with filing and those sorts of things. I will also add, and I am not by no means representing these companies, but we do have contract employers also that are at the zoo. So our cafe and our gift shop are run by separate companies that we contract with. And so I'm sure that they have additional entry-level positions like cashier, like food prep, that you can also look into for positions by going directly to them. But you look at our website and that's where you're going to find most of our stuff. So.
Excellent. Thank you. And you make a good point at the end there by mentioning the websites. And so for our students to know, for many, many employers, many positions, that's one of the places that you'd be going nowadays in order to be able to look for employment and more information about any of your any of the employers that you consider working with, or these particular employers. You'll be able to get more information on their websites. Sean, could you share with us also information in regards to entry-level positions that you guys may have there? And even if they're not available currently, what is it that you guys do offer, as an entry-level at Plato's?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of merchandise that comes in our door and back out our door on a daily basis, thousands and thousands of pieces of clothing, shoes, purses. So it's really important that our store stays organized. And the first thing people learn when they're starting with us is how to get the clothes out onto the floor, how to censor them, hang them up so that the customer can find them, and how to keep them organized. Of course, right now we always do a little bit of cleaning, but right now because of COVID, we're doing lots of cleaning and wiping down counters and anything that people touch. So there is a little bit of cleaning, but mostly right now it's merchandising clothes and making them look nice and neat and organized on the racks. And teamwork. Yes, I heard, was it Jamie that mentioned the teamwork? We always talk about many hands make for light work. So we have, a lot of people just trying to keep that store going round, bringing product in, putting tags on it, getting it back out onto the floor, and then of course ringing the customer up so it can go back out the door. So it's just one big circle.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. It sounds like quite a process that you guys have established there in order to be able to accept all the clothes, keep them safe for all, right, with all the cleaning and all, and then, getting them out onto the floors for everybody to enjoy. I'm looking forward to being able to make it over there to Plato's Closet at some point. I've heard some really good things about you folks.
Oh, good. That'll be fun.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to move on to another question at this point. So you guys have each shared information about some of the entry-level positions you have. So the next question that I would have is, what is it that you folks are looking for our students to have as skills? What is it that, even if soft skills, I mean, what is it that you guys are looking for in employees when they are first starting off and coming in to work with you folks? So I'll start with Jamie.
Okay. You know, I'll say the majority of our employees have never had a job before. So, you know, we're really looking for more the communication aspect, the ability to make eye contact, communicate. Hopefully we can get them to smile and laugh once we get them over being nervous. You know, we're looking for goal-oriented individuals. So knowing that they really don't have prior work experience. A lot of our employees have volunteer experience. You know, we're just really looking for the communication, somebody who can carry on a communication for us and with us, I'm sorry. And, you know, I can't stress the teamwork enough, because honestly, with the number of employees we have, it's inevitable that you may work with somebody who you don't necessarily like, but it's the ability to treat that person with respect and understand that everybody has to contribute equally in order to make things work in our restaurants.
Mhm. Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. Very much. Yeah. All of those are so important. Goal-oriented communication, teamwork, respect. We seem to be talking about those different characteristics pretty often here. So it sounds like we're on a pretty good track. That's good. Carrie, can you share with us what is it some of your characteristics are that you're looking for?
Sure. So a lot of the same things that Jamie is looking for in her business, we do look for that respect of not only other staff, but of volunteers, interns. We have quite a diversity of people who are at the zoo. So we expect that there be that respect level, as well as our guests. And we expect the converse, that our guests be respectful of us too. Obviously, we look for some experience in the position that the applicant is looking to go into to hire for, but that can be job experience or volunteer experience. We look at both of those. So it doesn't necessarily have to be paid experience for those entry-level positions. We look at that volunteer time also. And then, of course, we want somebody who is passionate about animals and conservation especially. That is what the zoo is all about. So we want folks who can communicate that conservation messaging and education messaging, regardless of what position they're in. So that sounds like it should be an education position or like a greeter position type activity that we really want those communication skills, but we expect all of our zoo family, and we do call it a zoo family, all of our staff to be able to communicate those conservation messages and actions that our guests can take to help conserve wildlife and habitat. So we look at everything pretty much. We look at that passionate level for folks. We want people who can be organized. Depends on the position, but detail oriented is sometimes required depending. But then who can represent the zoo positively is what we're looking for.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carrie. And I know that when you mentioned the fact that it's important for people to be able to represent the zoo well, you make a really good point there, because I think it's important that us share with students that you're referring not only when you're on the job, but when you're off the job, right? It's just as important that the students are able to, you know, send a good message about who the employee, who the zoo will hire for employees.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you want to share?
I'll quickly add that a lot of the time with our volunteers or staff, you're in your uniform shirt, you're in your volunteer shirt, you have your name tag on, and you've done a shift all day at the zoo or a half day, and you're going home and you just need to run some errands or something. At that point, you are still representing the zoo. You have on that name tag and that uniform. And so the public will be excited to talk to you because you have you have that job that you're at the zoo with animals, and what's that like? And some days you just are tired and you just want to go home, but you have to take a breath and take that moment to interact positively and answer their questions and be, supportive to their enthusiasm about the zoo, because at that point you are still a zoo representative. So a lot of us, if we know we have to run errands, we bring a change of clothes in case, so that we can do that rather than be what we call branded with our zoo name and when we go home. But yes, it is a full-time job. You will get people asking you once they find out you work at the zoo, all sorts of questions. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carrie.
You're welcome.
And Sean, I know that I've already asked this question to the other two, but I know there's always more characteristics that we are looking for with folks as they're coming on. And same for you as far as people representing the business and doing that well. I know that's something that is necessary for all business owners as they're hiring. What is it that you have that you want to share with us, Sean?
Sure. So one of the first things we look for is some level of commitment and responsibility and reliability. It's really important that we have people that want to come to work, that like to come to work, that show up on time every time. That's the biggest thing. It seems like a simple thing, you have a job and of course you would expect people to show up for it. But there's a lot of things, especially with young people, that come up that they tend to prioritize. And so for us, if we don't have those bodies in there, if we don't have those people getting that merchandise out onto the floor or buying it in, or enough people checking it out, it really impacts the rest of the team and it really impacts the business. So the first thing is, that level of commitment, showing up on time, ready to work. You've already had your breakfast or you've already had your lunch and you're ready to go when you get there. So that's the first thing. As far as skills, we really don't have a high expectation. We're really, I love teaching people from the ground up anyways. So if they come in completely inexperienced, that is not a problem for us. Their attitude is more important than their skills. So we sort of feel like we can teach the skills, we can teach the tasking, we can teach the job, but teaching that attitude is something we can't do, and teaching that level of commitment is something that we can nurture, but we've got to have that person that sees the job as a priority. So that's kind of where our focus is when we're hiring.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sean.
Can I say something?
Yeah, you know what, Miguel? I was just about to open it up for questions because I know that each of you have all been patient. You've been waiting. I know a couple of times I've seen some hands raised. So Miguel, why don't you go ahead? And then after that, we're going to take a couple of other questions from folks.
I think it's important to things function well instead of having a imbalance of communication, because if I become a business owner of some sorts and I feel like my people who, let's say, work for my company are saying suggestions that the schedule's not really that well, or I'm not getting paid as pretty well, should I listen to them and be able to cooperate with them so things work functionally? Because I hear I feel like I'm against imbalance and not being able to cooperate with people.
Okay, thank you for your question, Miguel. I'm going to open that up. Do either of you, Sean, Carrie, Jamie, want to respond to Miguel?
I can, if Jamie's not gonna, or if Carrie's not going
Sure.
to.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And I want to just make sure I understand the question. Are you asking if it's important to work side by side and to have a balance with your teammates and to cooperate? Is that the question?
That was what I was trying to say. Sorry if it sounded.
Yes. No, I just want to make sure I understood. That is super important. Just to have a good dialogue and communicate with other people that are working with you during your shift is really important. And it's also really important to communicate with your boss as far as whether the job is working for you or not. And also for you to get information from them, feedback on how you're doing. All of that is really important.
Mhm. Excellent.
No, and
Thank you
if
so
I can,
much, Sean.
I'm sorry, if I can add to that a little bit. I think, again, we have a lot of younger employees that work with us, and I think it's important, as Sean said, that they communicate with one another, but sometimes they don't know how to work through certain situations. And I can tell you that when, and I'm just going to use the term gossip, starts to occur in our restaurants, it can be really detrimental to the processes we have in place and just to the feel and the culture that we have in our restaurants. So that ability to really, if you can't work through it together, to bring it to the manager on duty's attention is extremely important. And, we continue to talk about teamwork, but that's where this really comes into play, is both sides have to be willing to work through their disagreements. And sometimes you just have to agree to disagree. And that can be difficult sometimes.
Mhm. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jamie. That's very true. Michaela,
Thank you
I see
for
your
answering my
hand up.
question.
Mhm. You're very welcome, Miguel. Mhm.
Okay. It's about the zoo. Are you guys careful? Be careful of what animal? Cause I heard it can be really dangerous. Like I'm afraid of snake and I'm afraid of snake and alligator.
Yeah, that's a great question, Michaela. We do have to be extremely careful. So we probably have some higher levels of security and protocol and policies that we need to follow than you would find in a retail position or a food service position, because we do have exotic wild animals living at the zoo. So there are lots of very detailed policies that we need to follow to make sure that we as staff, our volunteers, and our guests remain safe, but that also so the animals are safe. So we want to ensure that they are being respected and they are safe as well. So yeah, it is pretty much that the animal care staff, they are the ones who are dealing with the everyday care of the animals at the zoo, and they have many years of experience. They have college degrees, so they are the ones who maintain that protocol. I apologize.
It's okay.
So we are very careful. We have all sorts of policies about making sure that gates are double locked so that people don't wander in to places, that there are special locks when there are facilities or our grounds crew in a habitat, obviously when the animal is not there, just to make sure everybody's safe. And then I will also stress, we are protected contact. So that means that we always have a barrier between ourselves and the animals. So we are not in the same space with the animals. There are exceptions, some birds and capybara and tortoises, but pretty much that's it. Everything else, we are always separated by some sort of fencing, some sort of large bars barrier of some sort. So very good question. We do have to be extremely safe.
Mm-hmm. Especially predator and prey, actually. Usually predator get the prey, actually, and we don't want that.
Yes, we are especially cautious with those carnivores, the animals that eat other animals.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I like the lions.
Go ahead, Noah. I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, like the lions.
The
The
lions are
lion.
great. Yes.
Or also like dinosaurs.
We don't have any of those.
No, no. They're extinct a long time ago.
Not the dinosaurs?
Well, and some reptiles that exist today, but you know.
So does anybody else out there right now have any questions for our employers? You guys have heard a little bit of information from each of them at this point. I have some other questions I can ask, but I want to make sure that if you guys have questions that you have a chance. Okay, so it seems that you're all good at the moment. So I guess I would like to ask another question of our employers at this point. So let's say that we had someone here that was interested in having, in hiring, in taking on a job, and they wanted to work. How would they go about that? I know that there are times that the hiring process can be a little bit different for different places. Sometimes there's a screen interview first. Sometimes it could be that you're just going in one-on-one. Out of the three of you, who would like to first share a little bit of information about the hiring process that you have?
I can share that.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
So obviously, you know, with COVID, that presents a little bit of a challenge for us right now, but pre and post COVID, we would certainly take applications in our restaurants, so you can apply in person. We also are set up through Snag a Job, which is an online platform for all positions in our restaurants, from entry level and then our various management positions as well. So those are generally routed to the restaurant that's nearest to where the individual lives. And then basically once you've applied, we would screen applications. And if an interview was set up, generally the general manager does an in-person interview with you. And then one of our area leaders does a follow-up interview. So that would either be via the phone or in person.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jamie.
Absolutely.
Is there anything maybe Carrie or Sean could share if you folks have like a different process than what Jamie shared, so students kind of get a flavor of the variety of how a job, you know, people apply to a job?
Sure. Mine is a little bit different. I can share that. We get a lot of applicants just bringing their applications right through the front door. And we like to save them up, and about once every 4 or 5, maybe sometimes 6 weeks, just depending, we do a group interview where we pick a location, not necessarily at the store because we don't have a good spot. A lot of times we'll meet at a restaurant. And right now we meet at a restaurant with masks and a bigger table so everyone can be safe. And we bring, 6 to 10 applicants in at one time. And we see how they do in a group setting. We see how comfortable they are speaking to one another and to us in front of people. And we kind of get a feel for what they're looking for. We ask some really basic questions. What are they looking for in a job? How many hours they would like to work? And we kind of see who can meet our needs at that time. And we just go around the table and we kind of let people speak freely. And it ends up being really fun. Everybody gets to know each other. And, sometimes depending on where we go, we'll have some snacks on the table. And, it's very, very casual. We want to break the ice and have it be comfortable for everyone. And then from that interview, we decide who would be a good fit, who would meet our needs, and whose needs we will meet, because that's important too. We always talk about it being a partnership. If we can't meet their needs, they're not going to last very long. And our goal is to hire people that can stay with us for a long time. So from that interview, we call back 3, maybe and do some one-on-one interviews, just depending on how many we need at the time. And then we sit down face to face. It's usually my two managers and myself, and then we go into detail about their work experience, you know, some more personal stuff, what they're looking for, their availability, their skills, what they want to do in the future, where they see themselves, you know, moving up with our business if we did hire them. And then we choose the one person from there, or the two people, just depending on what we need. But we're almost always planning and prepping for those group interviews, because we like to have face-to-face contact, and we like to write some notes on their application, so that when we do call back for that one-on-one interview, we've got a really good idea of who has applied with us and how it's going to be a fit for both us and the candidate.
Mhm. Excellent. I like your point about saying that it is a partnership. That's so important, because once a person starts on the job, we're talking about teamwork. And from the very beginning, you're sharing that there is teamwork happening via that partnership, starting off with the employer, and then from there spreads to, you know, the teammates that people will be working with as coworkers.
Yep. We do one last part when we're calling them back for that one-on-one interview. We do maybe 20 minutes of just a working interview, where we can see how well they can follow directions, how they're going to do in that environment, if they're going to be comfortable, if they can understand organizing and stuff like that. So we do a little bit of that. We're not super concerned about that part. We just like to get an idea of how they feel in our store.
Right.
So that's the last
That's a
part.
really, yeah, that's a really important part, I think, because if a person is feeling comfortable within the atmosphere of where they're working, so within your store, they're probably going to do a better job completing each of those tasks. Right.
Yep.
And so therefore it's going to be a positive for you, as well as for the employee, as well as for the customer who's watching all of this happen. So it's going to be a comfortable place for all. Carrie, I know you were going to share something as well.
Sure. So it's very similar to Jamie and Sean's process. We do have our applications are actually downloaded from our website, reedparkzoo.org, and filled out and then submitted with a resume for the positions that are available. So we don't take any unsolicited applications. It has to be for a position that is available and listed on the website. And then those applications first get screened by our human resource department, and then the ones that have the qualities and the requirements of the job then do get passed on to the manager of the department who's hiring to review, and then they decide who they would like to interview. So interviews, it depends. We've done phone interviews in the past. We've done in person. Right now with COVID, we're doing a lot of Zoom interviews. So like everybody else, we're not doing too much in person. And then it's typically just one interview, and then the decision is made who to hire. And it's also based on that feeling, I think that Sean and Jamie touched on, that feeling that you get when you're interviewing that applicant, as well as their qualifications. It's not just strictly looking at qualifications. And basically, it's just that one interview for any higher positions like supervisor or that have specialty requirements. Those are 2 interviews typically. But we are looking for definitely people that fit into our zoo family. And I say zoo family, it is a team. So we all inform what each department is doing. So we work very well together and very closely. So that's what we're looking for. I think that's it. Yeah. So it's pretty basic, pretty your general interviewing process for us.
I just want to say one more thing.
Go ahead, Miguel.
I'd say I'm pretty happy with my job, and also like I know how a job would work. Like I got my very first job in November, and I'd say things are really getting greater and greater for me personally because I feel like I know about the quality of food, and I care about if the meat is good or not, since I work at a fast food place,
Mhm,
and I just hope I'm able to work with people,
mhm.
workers, and my managers.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Miguel. That's wonderful. I'm glad things have worked out better for you at this point. Now that you've started working and that you have more experience there since November. Does
Hmm.
anybody else here have any questions for us that you would want to ask? We have a few more minutes with our employers here before we're going to be starting off with our with the evaluation questions that we always have at the end of our webinars.
Thank you. Say something funny. I did get bothered by not being able to fill forms, so I did it through the internet. But I just gotta understand that things are going it's not like how my aunt used to do, sign a paper and there you have interview. Now I just did it digitally because I have to.
Mhm. Thank you, Miguel. And that causes me to want to ask our employers a question here. Let's say that we have an individual who has a difficulty in being able to complete an application or, follow through with the exact process you may have outlined. Are there alternatives for how a person might be able to apply or go about getting a job for either of you?
I can speak to that. We don't necessarily have a specific process. I can say that, we have worked with Workability in the past in a couple of our restaurants. So, I know UCP does know how to reach out to us directly, me, and certainly, whether it be an in-person interview, I definitely think there is a workaround to specific situations. They would just need to reach out and let us know that there was a need.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. It's good to know that as long as somebody was to reach out and share that they do have that as a need, that there is unity there. I think a lot of times folks are scared to apply because they don't think that there's a place for them or a way to go about it. And it sounds like there is. Carrie, Sean, do you want to share anything in the way of that?
I think it would be similar for us. If I had somebody reach out and say, I'm struggling with this application, I would probably, we would just probably work through it and help them fill out the application and then still just get them into that regular interview process. But I don't think it would be any sort of a problem. Just that initial communication would be the only thing that they would really need to do. And we could just take care of it.
Mhm.
And yes, I would reiterate same thing, that as long as they reach out to us to let us know that they're having any difficulty or have questions, we're happy to help. We look at these cases on an individual case by case basis. So we're always happy to reach out. And I know at least on our volunteer applications, it even asks if there are any accommodations that an individual might need to make them a successful volunteer. And I think there's something similar in our job applications, so that we are actively requesting that information from folks so that we know where we can meet so that we can make everybody successful.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Very, very good. It's nice to know that these options are out there for our students. And I know we know this, and it's helpful to be able to share this so that they understand that as well. Because we really are hoping that our students are, prepared and excited to enter the workforce after they get done school. That's what we're really hoping for here. So I am going to go through, it's 10 of, we usually take the last few minutes for our evaluation, which we will be doing today as well. And I just wanted to ask each of you to just respond real quickly to one question all the way through for our students to be able to, gain this information. if there was one suggestion that you were to offer to our students, and as you know, each of our students have disabilities and they have their struggles, and but they are just as able and willing to work as all others. And I'm just wondering what your suggestion would be to our students as they're looking at going into the workforce. So Jamie,
I'll
could
go
you
ahead.
start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
I want to say be confident. You know, be confident in yourself, sell yourself, tell us about yourself, tell us what your strengths are, and be honest about your opportunities, those things that you might need help with. You know, we really like the individuals that come in and tell us what they're good at. And it doesn't have to include any prior work experience. It can be as simple as I'm really good at mopping the floor at home. You know, there's a life skill, and any life skill can really be applied to our restaurant environment. So we're just looking for that open communication. Just don't be afraid to talk to us.
Great. Thank you. Carrie?
I would echo that. That's great advice. I would also say don't be afraid to ask. So if you find some place that you're interested in working, ask them what needs to be done for you to be successful or get a position there. I would also say, coming from the volunteer side of the zoo, that we always tell people, become a volunteer at the place that you want to work, because then we know your work history, we know your commitment to the organization, and when there is a position that is available, you are a known quantity to us at that point. And so we know your work ethic, we know what you're all about, and you have a better chance of getting a position that you're qualified for if we already know you. So it sounds like if you're trying to get money and get a job, but you know, we tell this to everybody. If you want to work, especially at a zoo or an aquarium, being a volunteer first is a huge step to that.
Almost
Excellent.
every one of like, you know, every sibling's like it's almost gonna be 3 that are gonna work. Like, you know, my brother already works, except my little brother. My sister already works, but like this year, possibly my sister, who's gonna be 16, is gonna work too. Almost, including me, like almost all of us are gonna work. That's gonna give my grandma a break.
It sounds like you come from a family of hard workers, Miguel.
Yep.
Let's see, Sean. Sean, could you share with us also what is it that you would like to be able to offer to students as a tip?
Sure. I think both of those things that the first 2 suggested are fantastic. Just taking that first step and putting yourself out there is the best thing you could do for yourself, giving yourself that opportunity to get in front of somebody and say, hey, I want to work here. And then follow up. Because I know that managers and business owners get busy, and it never hurts to follow up. I think you need to be confident enough to call back or walk back in and say, I put in an application, I met you, I'm really interested in working here. Have you given me any consideration? So I think just kind of staying in front of the person you're applying for and putting yourself out there. I liked what, I can't remember which one said it, but somebody said about selling yourself. Telling us what you're good at is fantastic advice. So I think that's really important, to be confident in letting people know what you could bring to this job, what you could bring to this position, and why you want to be there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Throughout the last couple of months, we've had some webinars about self-advocating and, you know, having a strong voice and sharing and speaking up for yourselves. And so you guys are each speaking to the fact that we've been teaching folks on self-advocacy. So thank you for speaking to that piece also. All right, so right now we're at 9:54. We're going to be going into our evaluation. I would like to say thank you to each of you, Jamie and Carrie and Sean, for being on with us today and offering all of this valuable information. It's so much appreciated. As you guys have shared, Jeff has been sharing information in our chat group with folks about your businesses and about some of the different connections that you folks have mentioned while speaking. And thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.